Welcome back to another semester of After the Whistle. I'm Elizabeth Barnes.
And I'm Kellen Voss. Let's get right into it. The Grand Valley State men's basketball team ended their three-game losing streak and picked up 2 wins at home this week, defeating Saginaw Valley State 85-78 on Thursday, January 10th, before defeating Northwood 2 days later. Thursday's victory over the Cardinals included a 19-4 run towards the end of the first half that was kick-started by back-to-back threes from Demetrius Lake. Hunter Hale scored a game-high 25 points in the victory, with Isaiah Brock pulling down a career-high 10 rebounds. Saturday's victory saw more of the same for the Lakers as they outscored the Timberwolves 39-25 in that second half. Hale again led the team scoring with 19 points, while Jeremiah Ferguson stuffed the stat sheet with 13 points, 7 rebounds, 6 assists, and 3 steals. After these 2 wins, the team improves to 11-5 on the season and 5-3 in the GLIAC. They travel up north to play Michigan Tech on Thursday, January 17th, and Northern Michigan on Saturday, January 19th. Tip-off for Thursday's game is at 7:30 p.m., and tip-off for Saturday's game is 3 p.m.
The 9th-ranked Grand Valley State women's basketball team continued their dominant season this week, defeating Saginaw Valley 64-46 before beating Northwood 67-51 2 days later. Thursday's dominant win highlighted by an incredible game from GVSU's Cassidy Bench as the juniors racked up 32 points and 10 rebounds to help push the Lakers to victory. The scoring was a bit more spread out in Saturday's game, with 5 Lakers, including Bench, Victoria Hedemark, Maddie Daly, Natalie Koenig, and Taya Andrews scoring in double digits. After these 2 wins, the Lakers improved to 15-1 on the year, as well as 8-0 in the GLIAC. They look to remain undefeated in the conference this week, traveling up north to play Michigan Tech on Thursday, January 17th at 5:30 before facing Northern Michigan at 1 p.m.
Finally, the Grand Valley State men's and women's swimming and diving programs swept their meet at Findlay Friday evening as the number 3 men won 171-62, while the number 11 women's team claimed a 143-97 victory. That's all the time we have this week. Make sure to stay tuned for more After the Whistle content, but until next time, I've been Kellen Voss.
And I'm Elizabeth Barnes. All game, all season, always on After the Whistle.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Gen and Gelo show, back from our winter break. A lot of basketballs went on.
We have not been here to talk about it.
No, we haven't. And a lot of players, have been making a name for themselves in the league, and a lot of big MVP candidates. And one big name I know you've been talking about a lot is James Harden.
Yeah. Harden, since we've been gone, has gone on
taken over the league,
a run that we haven't seen the likes of since Kobe, I believe, in 04. I mean, he's been averaging nearly 40 points a game. He's elevated the Rockets. They were looking like they were going to fall out of the playoffs. They were outside of the playoff picture for a long time starting off this season, and then Harden just kicked it into gear, and he's playing the best basketball we've ever seen, and that's coming from a guy who just won the MVP last year.
Yeah, what he's doing this year is even better, like you said, from what he did in his MVP season last year. He's doing it all right now in this stretch without Chris Paul. Which
is that the reason?
Which is something I actually brought up in our radio show. I brought up that
Chris Paul washed?
Yeah, is Chris Paul somebody they could possibly be talking about moving? Obviously, with the injuries, and the money and the age, it's going to be hard to move Chris Paul. But James has been able to do this without any
practically on his own.
Yeah, and now he's got to keep doing this without Chris Paul and Clint Capella, which they just announced 4 to 6 weeks he's out. So everything that's going on with James Harden, all this with players going out, with the way he's been playing. The other night he went 1 for 17 from 3, and he scored 38 points and they won. And it's
he probably shot about
20 to 25 free throws. Yeah,
exactly.
He's getting to the line at an unreal rate.
Always.
Yeah, what he's been able to do right now in this stretch of the season, this 15-20 game stretch he's been on, is absolutely unbelievable, and he's easily the front runner for the MVP. Are there?
But you like someone else, another Western Conference player,
Yeah.
a guy who this year is getting some more. He's getting more talk.
Yeah.
But people still don't talk about him enough. I don't think.
No, Nikola Jokic is turning into one of the top 3 centers in the league.
He's the second best center in basketball.
Yeah, I think
believe, personally.
I think it goes Joel and then Nikola.
Absolutely.
I think it's an easy way
Absolutely.
to look at it. And so, but yeah, what Nikola's been able to do in Denver, running the offense essentially as the big man. I mean, the other night they ran a Mason Plumlee and Nikola Jokic pick and roll, and you would never think to see 2 7-footers
Absolutely
running
not.
a pick and roll with each other. But Nikola's such a good ball handler at 7 feet and such a good passer at 7 feet. I mean, he's averaging right now 19, 10, and 7.5, with 19.7, so about 20. But what he's had big games since the new year. He put up 39 against Charlotte, 40 the other night, last night actually against Portland. We're recording this on Monday,
Yeah.
but on Sunday he put up 40 against Portland, 40, 10, and 8 on 15 of 23. I mean, he's playing at such an efficient level. And Will Barton brought up a good point the other night after the game. I mean, he's had so many guys in and out of the lineup, so many guys that are contributors. I mean,
He's remained.
Yeah, he's remained
constant.
the most constant player in the league,
Absolutely.
the most efficient player. I mean, Gary Harris has been out.
Barton himself has been out.
Barton has been in and out of the lineup. You know, they haven't gotten IT back. I mean, they've had to use Monte Morris, a
Who
former.
has been actually very efficient and
Yeah.
very good as a backup point guard.
And
Overlooked.
And they keep winning with Nikola being the facilitator and number 1 option in this offense. And so it's interesting. It's going to be interesting to see the rest of the season if he can keep this up. Because with the stat line he's got right now, 20, 10, and 5, or 7.5, it's a good line, but
It's not an MVP.
It's not an
line.
MVP type season, but he's definitely solidifying himself as that second best center in the league.
Yeah,
and
he's the best player on the best team in the West right now.
Yeah.
And that always has to warrant MVP discussion.
Yeah.
And we kind of were looking earlier at a way that we could help the People's MVP maybe reach a playoff, and it was
Yes.
rookie year. The People's MVP obviously being Luka Doncic.
Luka Doncic, the best player in the league. Yeah, D'Angelo and I.
If you
have
just
been-
watched Twitter, if you didn't watch
Yeah.
basketball and didn't know anything else, you would probably think that Luka Doncic is the best player in the league.
and he's averaging similar numbers to
To
Nikola
Jokic,
Jokic.
yeah.
Yes, he's averaging 19.5, I believe, 6 boards and 5 assists a game.
Mm-hmm.
As a rookie, a 19-year-old rookie, he's playing insane in Dallas, and he has elevated them to a fringe playoff team.
Absolutely.
But they are a piece away, and you have an interesting trade that could maybe help them out a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, New York, the Knicks, not the Brooklyn Nets. The Knicks need to clear cap space. They want to try to go after Kevin Durant. They want to go after they want to land a big name free agent. So to do that, they have to get rid of the money from Tim Hardaway Jr.'s contract. And I think that Hardaway Jr. is an interesting fit in Dallas. He'd be a better option at 2 than Wesley Matthews. He's a better shooter and a better scorer. He's a better secondary playmaker. And that way, you can make a move for a guy who's just a better scorer at this point in his career. We all know that Wesley Matthews is washed. He's still an okay defender, but Hardaway gives you a lot more upside on offense and a guy that can catch and shoot threes at a higher clip in an offense with a great passer like Luka.
You also are able to get a guy who's already wrapped up for 3 years. You don't have to worry about finding a guy in free agency who's going to fit with Luka. And in the trade you talked about possibly sending out Dennis Smith Jr. in the deal as well.
That was like getting crazy.
Okay.
And like that was just like if you could try to swindle the Knicks out of Kristaps Porzingis.
That would be a tough one to do.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
because he's their franchise player, and obviously he's coming off an injury and everything. But if you could pair Kristaps, just like in a dream world, if you could pair him with Luka,
That would be amazing.
what a world that would be.
There have been talks about Dennis Smith Jr. though not fitting well with Luka. Do you think that possibly looking for a trade with him and moving on from him and finding a younger guy that sort of fits a little better with Luka, that's still on his rookie scale deal like Smith Jr. is? Do you think that's an option that Dallas should
I think
take?
it's a move that they probably should make. Luka needs to be the primary ball handler. Dennis Smith Jr. is not really an off-ball player. He doesn't shoot too well. He's getting better at it.
Yeah, I think he's up to 35% from 3 this year.
Which obviously is nothing to scoff at. But he needs the ball in his hands to be his best self, and so does Luka. And Luka's obviously the better player at this moment and probably moving forward. So I don't know where you can send Dennis Smith Jr. I mean, Detroit, we will gladly take him.
Yes.
You can have Reggie Jackson, I promise. we won't argue with him about that.
I am definitely okay with getting rid of Reggie in that situation.
I don't know, though. I think that sooner or later, like, you have to make the choice between those two guys, and the choice is obvious. I mean,
yeah, you obviously want to stick with Luka, and if you can move Dennis Smith, it's probably going to be pretty easy to move Dennis Smith. I mean, he's still got a lot of value. He's
got a ton of upside.
Yeah, he's got a ton of upside, and there's a lot of value added to him, especially being a younger guard. One guy that we both have talked about that could be tough to move is in Detroit. That's Andre Drummond.
Yeah.
A $25 million contract for a big that doesn't fit today's game necessarily.
Who can't score outside of 5 feet?
Yeah, it's tough for him to score anywhere. It's tough for him to be your second option in Detroit.
Yeah.
And they're only a half game out in the East, though. They're only a half game out of a playoff spot.
Yeah.
And, Blake Griffin is playing at an all-star, and some coaches have been saying all-pro type level this season. So is there a way that you think the Pistons could possibly move on from Andre Drummond?
And with what I've been looking at, it looks like no.
Yeah.
And it looks like it would be really hard. I think you'd have to get a third team involved at some point, because the Pistons, as we know, the cap situation is just ugly.
It's not good.
It's very bad.
Yeah.
So with them not having the money to do anything like this, I don't know. I mean, it would make so much more sense to not have Griffin and Drummond in the same front court, because Griffin is such a ball dominant guy. Like, he's going to try to back his man down. He's going to work and work until he can get a bucket. And then Andre, I don't know. Like, he can't do much else other than rebound. Like, you've talked before about how when he plays a center that's bigger than him, he shrinks. He goes away. And you can't have that. I mean, if you're going to be good at something, if you're going to be a good rebounder, you have to be able to do that all the time.
I think a lot of teams are proving that having a center as your, I guess not a center in today's game that can, like a Nikola Jokic, having a guy like him, that's a solid piece to have. But having a center that is an old school type guy in Drummond, having him as your second leading scorer, having him as your second highest paid player on the team, you can find better value in a guy like JaVale McGee, for instance. I mean, he's on a league minimum contract. Granted, the numbers aren't near the same, but you can run better offense when you have a guy like him in your system,
because he knows what he is.
Yes, Andre. Granted, Andre against LA, he had 20 and 21 the other night, which was fantastic.
Yeah.
But the only way he's going to score that 20 is if he's getting those rebounds, which every night he might not necessarily be able to do.
He does most of the time, but like you said, in today's NBA, that pairing just doesn't make sense.
No, it doesn't make sense. And if you can move Drummond for a center that sort of embodies what you want in today's league, and maybe a swing guy on the outside with a little shooting, if you can add something like that in a trade for Drummond, that's something that I think the Pistons need to look at. The only problem is, like we said, how hard is it going to be to move him? And that's going to be the biggest issue with the Pistons going into the trade deadline season. And with it vastly approaching, and with them only a half game out, you would assume that they're going to be buyers at the deadline with how Griffin's playing.
You hope so.
Yeah. So that's going to do it for us today here on the Gen and Gelo Show. We'll hope to see you guys next week.
Welcome back to the final episode of this season of Every Day is Saturday. I'm Kellen Voss.
I'm Mike Mahaffy.
So the college football season is officially over. All the bowl games have been played. The national championship has been played. We're not going to talk about Michigan football just because neither of us want to get pissed off on this show. Michigan's a basketball school until further notice. The Big Ten didn't do that well in the bowl games. Only picked up a few wins, I believe. Wisconsin won. And
Iowa won. We had some other lower ones like Northwestern got a win, but some of the bigger schools, Michigan State.
None of the headlining schools when you think of the Big Ten won, and so probably a down year for the Big Ten when it comes to bowl season. But let's talk about what matters the most in college football, and that is the college football playoff. The college football playoff, Clemson destroyed Notre Dame, and then Alabama. Oklahoma kind of made it a game.
Yeah.
That was more entertaining than I was expecting to be. And then the national championship, which nobody saw coming.
No, that was a big
Clemson
surprise.
destroying Alabama.
I think, as I talked about when we did our selection show, that the playoff system needs to be changed up or whatever, on the sole fact that these playoff games were going to be a joke. The fact that Notre Dame was respected as a top 4 team, yes, they were undefeated, but who'd they beat? I think it was a joke that they're in it, and I think the playoffs could have been a better. I think you still should have put Georgia in the top 4. But
at the end of the day, I don't know if Georgia would have beaten Alabama or Clemson, but that's neither here nor there. It was just nice to see a change in college football for once, to see like someone finally going up and competing with Alabama, because I believe going into that college football game that like it was one of the lower rated national championship games that we've seen in terms of TV ratings I was reading about, but like it was right at the beginning of the game. It was back and forth, touchdown, touchdown, touchdown. It was entertaining to watch. And ultimately, Clemson made it a blowout. But the fact that the national championship game was entertaining in general at least brings some sort of validity to the college football playoff, just because, you know, Clemson was able to defeat the evil empire that is Nick Saban and the Crimson Tide.
I think it's especially cool because the fact that, like, when we think of our era of college football, we think Alabama dominating.
Yeah.
But if we look at the series, you could say, where they've played 3 championship games now, Clemson's now 2-1 and leading that.
Yeah.
That means Dabo Swinney's got it over Nick Saban in the championships, head to head. So that kind of leads, like, I think questionably, like, Dabo Swinney has to be respected as at least the second best head coach, especially now that Urban Meyer has stepped down or taken whatever, if he ends up coming back to coaching, whatever happens with him. But now that Urban Meyer stepped down, I think that hands down goes to Dabo Swinney.
And that Clemson team is just such a complete team. I mean, I'd want that whole defensive line playing for the Lions next year. Clellan Ferrell had a great game. Christian Wilkins had a good game. Their linebackers, Austin Bryant and Kendall Joseph, impacted on both sides of the defense. But the name that needs to be brought up is Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah.
He had maybe one of the better college football performances from a quarterback that we've seen in a long time, especially from a true freshman playing what was heralded as the best team in college football. Just make them look as bad as they did was incredible to watch.
I think what leading up to that game was that Trevor Lawrence was putting up good numbers throughout the season, but a lot of people were saying he wasn't having that, quote, freshman or moment, the first, like, big moment to put his name out there. And I think this game finally makes him, like, if you weren't thinking that he was good, this is the game that officially, like, hey, this guy's going to be a legit contender to be a good quarterback in the NFL, putting up 347 yards in the air against one of the best defenses in the country.
It's just incredible to see this as a 19-year-old that he's doing this, you know. Most of the guys in the studio that are on the crew for After the Whistle and Elizabeth, most of us are his age or older than him. And so to see him just go into the national championship game seeming like he has no nerves. I mean, I think he missed a couple of throws early on, but just starting off great, the system he had around him, I mean, wide receivers, that Clemson offensive line did a great job. Great team win by Clemson. And you know, it's from a college football fan's perspective, I'm happy that we get to see Trevor Lawrence play college football for 2 more years, but honestly, he should be able to go in the NFL because it looks like he's ready. It looks like he's ready to make the checkdowns. He has more potential than, you know, an average to mediocre quarterback like Mitchell Trubisky does, but he should get a chance to just go into the NFL like that just right away, I believe, out of college. And it's entertaining for us from college football fans' perspective that he is here, but the fact that he's almost stuck for 2 years is not going to be.
So you said that you think he should be able to enter the NFL.
I do, yes.
You think they should change that rule? So, like, that kind of brings us to another topic. Like, if he were scenarios, the rule were to change, where would you put him on that scale of NFL draft? Where would you think he'd get picked up? And then what would you compare him against the other quarterbacks going in the draft? Dwayne Haskins, and then we'll get to talking about Kyler Murray, who declared for the.
I think he's right up there with him. I mean, he looked dominant in that national championship game. Looked very dominant in the Notre Dame game. To come in as a true freshman and to seem like he had no freshman moment. He had no I threw this pick across my body, across the field. He made no stupid throws like that. He clearly has the poise, and he's clearly ready to play in college. He's clearly ready to play in the NFL. And he has we were saying pre-show, he has the potential to be Peyton Manning with a better arm. Obviously, he's not there quite yet. Obviously, he's still 19 years old. He still can't legally buy alcohol. But he has the potential to be one of the better quarterbacks in the NFL. And I think just because of how high his ceiling is, he should be in that same range as Haskins or Kyler Murray. I think personally I would choose Haskins over him, and maybe he's in the same realm as Kyler Murray. But he deserves to get a chance to play in the National Football League, especially with how many mediocre quarterbacks there are in the league right now.
I agree. I'd still take Dwayne Haskins over him if he were able to enter the draft. But my take kind of is like, we kind of see this whole basketball realm, and they already have the one and done rule, and people think they should get rid of that in basketball and kind of let people or athletes go straight from college to the pro or to the NBA. But I think with football, it's a little different, and I think we're looking at a quarterback position, which is one of the hardest positions in sports.
That's fair.
So my opinion on this is like, yes, I don't want to take anything away from what this kid has accomplished, and I think, as you guys said, his ceiling is very, very high. But I think since it is only his freshman year, I think we can jump to conclusions on what he could actually
to make sure he
do.
plays this way consistently, is what you're saying.
Yeah, because there's a lot more than just pure athleticism and talent that goes into the quarterback position. Now, he hasn't proven anything against that. He doesn't have the mind process to read a defense. Like, he's proven that he can, but I think we need to still take advantage. I think the one and done in college football, there's a reason why they stay for 3 years. It's because it's to develop more, because I think in football, especially the quarterback position, I think there's more of a development process, like mentally.
Yeah, absolutely. And it just, for me, it just comes back to that potential. I mean, we talked about it on the radio show that D'Angelo and Noah mentioned. If Kirk Cousins is the most average quarterback in the NFL, wouldn't you at least rather have Trevor Lawrence just to make sure that he has the potential to be great, rather than just know you're going to get the grilled cheese sandwich that is Kirk Cousins? I mean, you know that Trevor Lawrence, if he steps in the NFL right now, he's better than I would say most of, if not all, the rookies in this year's class. And I think that he has the potential to be a really good NFL quarterback. And the fact that he's almost shackled to the sidelines of the college football games for the next 2 years of his life, it's going to be tough because as an NFL fan who is seeing Matthew Stafford get older and older and worse every day, I'd really want to see Trevor Lawrence in the NFL.
So, I kind of get caught up with, yes, I agree with, getting stuck with that mediocre quarterback and kind of not really being able to go anywhere. But I feel at the same point, we see a lot of teams in the NFL take those chances on quarterbacks, because one of the hardest positions in the NFL to get is a quarterback.
Absolutely.
So we see, yes, the Browns historically in the past 15 years have done awful draft picks, but we see them again and again going after quarterbacks. And I think, yes, Trevor Lawrence is better than a lot of those, if not all of them, people that are quarterbacks that the Browns have picked. But I think instead of I would still, since getting a quarterback is such a risky position, I would rather have that secure mediocre quarterback and build around them instead of having that wild card. Because if you have,
because you can win a Super Bowl with Nick Foles, and you can win a Super Bowl with Joe Flacco. That's been proven. That's a fair.
I think it's just a safe bet to have a quarterback and be secure.
Yeah. Last word on Trevor Lawrence: get a haircut, get a fade, get something, get some just take it off, man. You don't want to be pulled down by it. Just all right. Let's stop talking about the golden boy for a second here. Speaking of quarterbacks, though, Kyler Murray. A source very close to Kyler Murray tweeted out earlier today that Kyler Murray is declaring for the NFL draft. Mike, what are your thoughts on that?
As we kind of talked about pre-show, as a football fan, I am excited. Just the pure talent and just excited player to watch. Watching what he did with Oklahoma this year, get a chance to see more of that in the NFL is going to be amazing. But if I were him and kind of thinking of my future, I'd have to take a step back and think this is not the choice I'd be willing to go with, because I think long term he'd be able to play longer in the MLB. I think he has a better shot in the MLB, and he'll definitely in the long term be able to make more money. Now, if it's his personal choice, if he likes football more, then hey, have at it.
Yeah.
But I think long term money and just future, I think the MLB chance would be a better choice.
Right, and you mentioned playing quarterback is one of the hardest things to do in sports. I believe the hardest thing to do in sports is to hit a 95 to 100 mile an hour fastball. And if Kyler Murray can't figure out how to do that, we've seen it time and time again. It takes a while to get guys to where they can play in the major leagues for baseball. We're talking 2, 3, sometimes even 4, 5, 6 years and when it comes to that case. So if Kyler Murray were to, go with the Oakland A's and he finds out in AA and AAA he can't hit a baseball, at that point he's been out of football for a while, and I think that football for him, in terms of the obviously there's the whole aspect of CTE where football you're obviously have a bigger chance of getting a concussion in football than you would in baseball. But being an NFL quarterback, being the leader of a city in a certain way, being that prominent figure, I would prefer to be that if I'm Kyler Murray, and he obviously shows that he has the talent for it. I mean, he won the Heisman Trophy. He made the evil empire that is definitely cheating in Alabama look human in their bowl game. He definitely has the ability to be a good NFL quarterback. So I think he's making the correct decision in that he'll be able to get more sponsorships from this. More people watch football than watch baseball. I think hitting a fastball is a harsh thing to do in sports, and so I'd rather get the football money now because baseball is always something he can come back to. Because we've seen Russell Wilson got drafted by an MLB team. Patrick Mahomes got drafted by the Detroit Tigers a while back. That these are MLB teams are willing to wait and let these guys come back, so might as well give football a shot while you're here and while you have that talent, I would say.
I can agree with that. I think that's all the time that we have left for here after the whistle. I'm Mike Mahaffy.
And I'm Kellen Voss. Thank you so much for watching every day of Saturday all year long, and tune in next season as Alabama and Clemson will probably be in the national championship game again.
Hello and welcome back to another edition of Unnecessary Roughness. Almost forgot the show's name for a second there. But all three of our teams died. My team died with like 3 weeks left in the season. Joe's died wild card, and then yours died this last weekend against the.
Sadly.
Yeah. You want to talk about that?
Yeah, I'll touch on it. I think I honestly was, besides me being an Indianapolis Colts fan, I honestly full-heartedly thought they were going to beat the Chiefs. Was I more wrong? Patrick Mahomes proved that, hey, he's young, but he still can lead a team in the playoffs, and he definitely dominated the defense. And the Colts offense was nowhere to be found that entire game. They had shining moments here or there, but like they were non-existent. And I honestly thought that was going to be the Chiefs' downfall was their defense. They didn't really have. They have like some players like D4, Justin Houston, but with Eric Berry out and some missing pieces, I thought that was going to be the downfall. But they shut down what seemed to be a very special Colts offense. So not much to say then. I think the Colts have a lot of youth, and I think they're going to be an upcoming team going through the title shots for the next couple of years.
And then staying in the AFC real quickly, that Patriots and Chargers game, that one was crippling. I was cheering for the Chargers. They were my Super Bowl pick. I had picked them and a team from the NFC team we'll talk about in a little bit. But, Joe, why don't you take that one?
Yeah, no, I didn't think it was going to get out of hand so fast. It's just time in and time again. It's one of those things where even though you thought this year was different, this Chargers team looked legit. You're like, all right, they should be ready to go into Foxborough, get the job done. Go.
Especially how they shut down Baltimore for like 3.5 quarters.
Yeah, so and just over-reliable Bill and Tom, you just can't count them out. They figure it out. Bill's always coaching those guys up. They take away your best player, and it was unbelievable. I think, Melvin Gordon had only like 40-something yards. And granted, the Chargers have a lot of talent through the air, but you can't win if you can't even get your running back to have less than 50 yards. That's crazy. So, no, that was huge. And for the 8th straight year, the Patriots will be in the AFC title game. Like, that's crazy. Like, no matter where you stand on the Patriots, whether you like them or not, they're cheaters.
That's a run of dominance.
Whatever. That's just an amazing thing. 8 years, I think they've won a division, 18 out of the 19 that they've been together. It's unreal. Now, granted, the East has kind of historically been relatively weak for the 20 years that Brady's been there. But, yeah, that's crazy. So we'll see a Mahomes-Brady matchup in the AFC title game.
We go another year without having to hear "We Them Boys" from the Cowboys fans.
Yeah.
Thank goodness.
Yeah, not a Cowboys fan, but
Cowboys are one of my least favorite NFL franchises. I'd put them up there with the Packers and Bears, and Joe knows my feelings about the Bears. So to know there's an outside of a division rival that I don't like that much. But the Rams are still, in my opinion, the best team.
yeah. I don't know if I'd put them at the best team because I think the Saints showed promise, but that's a totally different thing. But we'll probably get to the Saints Eagles game here in a second. But I definitely think you can't really sleep on the Rams. They're very explosive. Their offense, Sean McVay is a genius, and I think he's proving it time and time and again with all the different motion he has going on, with everything going on with Todd Gurley, Jared Goff, and with Aqib Talib back, showing that defense is coming in strong. So I think they're definitely a team that's going to be hard to beat.
Is this a time for Rams to worry, though, if they don't win it this year?
Oh, I 100% think so. I think this was the year that they sold out, got the free agents that they did with Aqib Talib, Marcus Peters, Ndamukong Suh. I know Ndamukong Suh is only on a 1 year. I'm not too sure about the other two.
They brought in Dante Fowler to trade deadline.
Yep.
They're going all in.
They're going all in, and they're going to have some young players starting to come up here that they're going to need to pay eventually, with Goff being the biggest one who's going to demand a big contract.
That's what the only thing that I see that I think this is their year to win a championship. But if they do it right, because they already paid some of their big players, they already paid Gurley and they already paid Aaron Donald. Their two biggest
Brandon
players.
Cooks is in a pretty big deal too there, isn't he?
He could be. I'm not too sure exactly what Brandon Cooks' deal.
Yeah, because he's bounced around from the Saints to the Patriots to
the Rams.
So they have a good core. The biggest thing is now I think Jared Goff is going to be coming up here soon, and if he's going to strive to get that next quarterback pay, which seems to be the next rotation, I think it'd be hard for the Rams to keep him and bring him back. But if he comes back and kind of does a Tom Brady thing where he doesn't ask for like ridiculous money and kind of
I think that's every fan's dream, though, is that a quarterback, our quarterback will come back on a cheaper deal. There's not very many that ever do that. It's been Tom Brady, and pretty much that's it. So to hope and expect your quarterback to do that, I think is not really it's not really a thing that's going to happen.
I think even without him, the core that they have with Donald and Gurley and some of their other pieces, I think they'll still be contenders for these next years, but I think I think this is definitely the year that they should probably make that run.
And then real quickly with the Eagles and the Saints are the NFC team I did pick to make to the Super Bowl. I've been a big Drew Brees fan ever since I first started playing fantasy football, and he's the first quarterback I ever took. So, Joe, go on that one real quick.
The NFC, that should be a hell of a game. It's in the Superdome, right? Because New Orleans is the higher seed. Yeah, so no, that'll be great. It'll be just like the first time they matched up. And all this talk about the Rams, they're definitely one of the best teams in the NFC, but they're definitely not bulletproof because the few losses that they've had, and even the playoff game on Saturday, Sunday, whenever this weekend, they're not showing that dominance that they should be showing. You know what I'm saying? To keep. Now I get that Dallas's defense has come around and they still have Zeke. It's going to be hard to stop him, but I didn't think that they were looking bulletproof, top two seed in the NFC like they get talked about.
Yeah.
So, but I think it's going to be an awesome championship game. Shoot, I'm riding the Saints the rest of the way. Sean Payton, in the locker room, put down the $2,500 in the Lombardi trophy on the table and said, do you want to go get it? Money and make a man do some crazy things. So I'm all on board because this is a damn good team too, but I like the Saints to come away from the NFC on Sunday.
That's like I said, I picked the Saints as well.
I agree with you guys that the Saints were the team to pick, but I think they definitely showed some vulnerability. The fact that the Eagles were able to come out 14-0 on them to start the game, and it took the entire game
for
the Saints to eventually come back. Yeah. And the game ended with an Alshon Jeffrey slip up right through his hands with Lattimore interception. Yeah. So the Eagles could be if it weren't for that, they could have kept marching and could be the team in the championship. So I didn't think the Eagles were that special this year. I think they were definitely not as good as they are last year. So do I think that the Saints are still better than the Rams? Yes, but I definitely think they're not as strong as people are saying they are because the Eagles kind of exposed them a little bit.
Yeah, and it seemed like yesterday too. It was like the injury game going back and forth. It was a Rams or an Eagles player down the Saints. So we're gonna have to look to see who's missing from that Saints team on Sunday.
Yep. And then Chiefs Patriots.
I have to go with the experience again. I as a person, as soon as the day that Tom Brady proves that he is not as good as he is anymore, and Belichick is losing a step. They're not. They're still proving that they're good, so I still have to go with the Patriots.
I'm going against all conventional wisdom, and I'm not picking the Patriots. I know it's not smart to do. I picked against them last week, but I'm going to pick against them again this week, and I'm going with the Chiefs.
Yeah, it's tough because, I mean, like you mentioned, the Chiefs' defense showed up on Sunday or whatever. That was the surprise of that entire game. I don't think even when they show up, they're as good as Los Angeles, but I think them two offenses are just going to be able to kind of just shoot it out. I think it'll be a close one again, but I can't pick against Tom and Bill.
And we had more things to talk about, but we got the wrap, which is kind of nice, though, because it's going to save it for next week when there's only going to be one game to talk about.
Yeah.
And then we got a week after that where there's no game happening. So we got more discussions coming for the future weeks. So this has been Unnecessary Roughness, and I've been Jacob Hunting.
Joe Bielanski.
Mike Mahaffy.
And we will see you guys all next time.
The Grand Valley State men's basketball team ended their 3-game losing streak and picked up 2 wins at home this week, defeating Saginaw Valley State 85-78 on Thursday.
Joe messed up.
God, Joe. 19 points. Well, Jeremiah Ferguson stuffed the stat sheet with 13 points, 7 rebounds, 6 assists, and 3 steals. After these 2 wins, the team improved to 11-5 of the season and 5-3 in the GLIAC. They travel up north to play Michigan Tech on Thursday, January 17th, and Northern Michigan on Saturday, January 19th. Tip-off for Thursday's game is 7:30 p.m., and tip-off for Saturday's game is 3 p.m. Boom! Can't be stopped. Because it was going faster, so I was like, I was like getting it. Oh.
At one point, you were like this.
I thought they were messing with me because it just kept going faster, so I just kept reading it. I was like, I want to prove a point that I can get this done, even while they're messing with me. And so,
You just started off really loud.